November 22nd, 2013, it was just a normal Friday. But on the village road to fishing, the entire village witnessed a funeral procession far from the deep mountains. The middle-aged man who died at the time was called Code, only 36 years old, is the son-in-law of the horse family in the village of to aquatic fishing. The sudden departure of the Code, it surprised everyone in the village, even though there are no relatives from the Code's former home to move forward. But the horse family in the village is too aquatic, still spend a lot of money to give him a grand funeral. According to local custom, then the story of this funeral became an anecdote in that land. But only a month after the funeral of the Code, strange things start to happen in quick succession. In the morning, December 23rd, 2013, Copper Workshop Police of the District Police Department meeting, I got a strange report call. The accuser is a middle-aged man, the local voice. In the call, he said that, "I suspect the death of the nail is not natural disease. It's murder by someone else." The police were trying to get more specific information from the whistleblower, but he refused to reveal his identity. He just said that if the police want more details, they can find a person in the village. His name is Ocean School, then hastily hang up. There's no doubt about it. This sudden report call, the police immediately had a lot of questions. First of all, this mystery person is AI. The Code has been buried for more than a month. Why are you reporting now? Even more so if the Code is actually murdered. Why SAO is not his relatives reported? Is it the death of the Code? It's related to his family. And hide a secret that I can't tell Ra. In this unclear situation, the local police decided application of the confidential method of investigation. They don't go directly to the Code house for questioning, but first to investigate around the village, hoping to find some useful clues. Through the preliminary investigation, the police found that, actually, the deceased didn't belong in their home. His real name is Din Tung Fu, hometown in Yunyang District, Chongqing City. More than 15 years ago, a construction worker who came from his hometown to Yunyang earned a living through the recommendations of friends. He became the son-in-law of the family in the village to fishing. Then, according to local custom, Fu Cardboard joins the Code family, and it's called a Code by the locals. After joining their family Code, coding is no longer a construction job to the pig breeding trade. Thanks to the intelligence and agility of youth, the business of nails gradually expanded from the village to aquatic to the neighboring towns. During the investigation, most of the people in the village appreciate the Code. Everyone has the impression that the Code is always in good health and no one's ever heard of him before. The sudden departure of the nail shocked everyone, but no one's questioning your death. What makes people more impressive? It's the funeral of the devil. Even though the nail Code is the son-in-law, and there's no next of kin in Yunan. But the horse family still holds the most magnificent funeral, according to the highest local funeral rites. This makes the villagers feel that the Code family is very meaningful. During the initial investigation, the police did not find any signs that the anonymous whistleblower mentioned, so they decided to investigate separately. Yangzhou people, one that the reporter mentioned, he won at the age of 52. He was a close friend of the deceased. According to the story of Duongzhu 1, on 2011 at the funeral of the nail, I went to their house to express my condolences. At first, it was just a village custom. However, during the visit, Yangzhou Yang one by chance saw the body of the nail and discovered that there's blood coming out of the 2 ears of the nail Code. This unusual phenomenon immediately made Duongzhu Wing, honest people feel insecure. Then Yang walked around the bed containing the body and found out in the temporal region of the Code, there seems to be a wound. 2 details that Oceanography 1 has alerted the investigators. According to the people in the village, the cause of death of the Code was a stroke, leading to death. If it's a severe brain stroke, then there's blood coming out of the patient's temples. It can also happen, however, if combined with a wound in the temporal region, that's not normal. Even though positive learning won't guarantee what he saw was real. But the police still haven't found any direct evidence. It shows that the family Code was murdered. To further verify the authenticity of the ocean-winning supply, the investigators asked a few more people, joined the post at that time. Answers from these people, it makes the case even more complicated. to aquatic fishing, a village deep in the mountains of the district, meaning it's one of the largest areas of Yunnan province. The locals are here, live very honestly and simply. Over the years, this place has never had a murder case. But in the face of reports from the anonymous whistleblower and Ocean School 1, the police officer did not act in a hurry. They start with work. Find the first person came into contact with the body of the nail code. That's the code. The wife's cousin is the code. After the code happened, code minus being the first to come home to help the family take care of the aftermath. According to the testimony of the minus code, it happened in the middle of the night. When you go to the horse house, my family is cleaning my body. The code states that I didn't see any wounds at the time or any traces of blood on the body of the code. That night, Machu helped prepare the funeral and didn't check the details of the body. This situation, that's the exact opposite of previous testimony. Ocean School wins. To clarify, the investigators went to another residence. It's code, Velvet's wife's cousin, the person responsible for changing clothes for the nail code. Logically speaking, horses must be able to observe very closely body condition of the nail code. When the police ask, the code also states very firmly that he doesn't see any hurt on the body of the nail code. So who's the liar? Is that oceanography won't provide misleading information, or two of the code's relatives are hiding the truth? In this situation, the local police forced to reconsider Duonzu One's testimony, as well as the social relationship between him and his family. After the investigation process, the police found that Ocean School 1 no contradiction. Any apparent conflict or conflict with their family? This makes the police think the possibility of deliberately providing slanderous information seems to be very low. Material. Are the code's relatives lying collectively? No. And if that's the case, they're hiding something. After the preliminary investigation, the police decided direct contact with family of Nails. After the nail code died, there are only 3 adults left in the house. Wife, father-in-law Kaifu, and mother-in-law Track Cinnamon Talk about Fairy. The death of her husband. The horse's feet were very sad. According to your testimony, the code started showing symptoms on the evening of November 20th. That afternoon, after delivering the piglets, Cod back home for dinner. There's nothing unusual about the whole process. After dinner, the family of 4 sat watching TV for a while. I was tired after a long day of work. Code go to bed first. Let's watch the VI for a while. Then came into the room. About 12 o'clock at night, the code complains that uncomfortable stomach and severe headache. She then asked her husband if he needed to go to the hospital, but the code tried to endure and didn't go. However, by about 1:00 code in the suddenly wakes up in a very painful condition, and only about half an hour later, he fell down from a brain hemorrhage and no more movement. At that time, the dorm room of the owl and the nail were on the first floor. Her parents are on the second floor. When the police asked Tupu's father, he told me about the situation that night. He gave a very strange testimony. He said that he and his wife, I slept in my room on the second floor all night and didn't hear any strange noises. It wasn't until the girls screamed that they woke up. When they went downstairs to their daughter's bedroom, then their son-in-law had a sudden brain hemorrhage and died. Husband and wife code. I am so sorry for the sudden death of my husband. But from the testimony of Tajan and her parents, the police still found a suspicious spot about the cause of death of the code. Her mother and father both confirmed it's a brain hemorrhage that leads to death. However, what makes the police suspicious is that she and her parents have lived in the mountains ever since. Now it's like having no medical knowledge. Why are they so sure about the code dying of a brain hemorrhage? Answer this doubt. He explained that the night he got sick, she found a village doctor. After the village doctor's examination, the doctor directly said that the code had a brain hemorrhage and had no pulse. To verify the words of the Trung code, the investigators continued to ask her parents. But you two said that they didn't know any doctors came to the house that night. This answer raised further suspicions from the investigators. According to the layout of the house, couple Stud lives on the first floor. In the middle of the night, the cod got very sick and called the doctor. Such a big thing. And the two of you who live on the second floor don't know anything. It doesn't make sense. At this time, the police continued to ask the code about which village doctor you found. However, the code does not answer directly. It's just not clear. Can see, she and her parents have serious doubts about the crime. But what's their motivation actually? The truth of the whole case isn't that simple. To clarify the motives of Tajun and her parents, the investigator has started to investigate the relationship between the code. Investigators have known that for more than 15 years. In 2003, he was 20 years old. Was by order of the parents to marry the nail code. Although looking at it from the outside, this seems like a hopeful marriage. But the development of things is not as expected. Then the code that came out as a tiger worker still had some money. But when you marry a cowboy, he didn't have a wedding. They don't even kill chickens or ducks to celebrate. This makes the father-in-law of the nail code. The horse always feels dissatisfied. He was hoping that son-in-law will help with part of the housework, but did not expect that. The code back barely works. The year after marriage, she gave birth to a lovely daughter, but her appearance, it does not bring joy to the family. Code, who values boys more than girls, he began to disparage and show contempt for her daughter, born about 6 months later. The nail code started asking for divorce, but the two code is 0. Since then, the code has become depressing, and sometimes drunk people commit violent acts. The horse and the horse have repeatedly advised, but they're all beaten by the code. This bad condition lasts for more than 2 years, until Matu gave birth to another son, to make the tension of the code somewhat less. However, snakes in the family still exist, partly because the code is illiterate. So the code is constantly showing contempt and despise you. On the other hand, for making a little money from doing business, the nail code as cheap. They also started having sex outside. According to a friend's reflection, code often overnight outside, not going home to sleep. It's his nightlife, like fireflies in the dark. It's secret, but it can't be completely hidden. In addition to playing cards and drinking, she's had sex with many other women. As they say, there's no wall that's impervious to the wind. So Tits and her parents actually, I soon heard the sound of the damn VISA of the nail code. Sure, there's a potential family crisis between the stud and the boobs, and conflict between family members. It's also very clear. From this point, we can speculate the strange death of the nail code. It may have something to do with her parents. However, when the investigation came the local police have no evidence yet. Proof of the Pearl Code or your parents killed the code. Even the police don't have direct evidence to determine whether the code was killed or not. Currently, the most direct solution, all that's left is to unearth the coffin and autopsy the body, but there's not enough evidence to prove it. This is a criminal case, and my mother's family was very opposed to opening the coffin, so the local police haven't been able to do that. In this slump situation, the investigators have come up with a different way. They decided to do a play to trick the horse. In the morning, January 15, 2014, about a.m., the police from Yemen District Police Department arrived at Matatron's door. Bring some professional investigative tools. A police officer put a Tupac code on the police car. He asked her where the code was buried, while other police officers began to discuss the steps and methods of opening coffins and autopsies. The purpose of doing so is to put psychological pressure on the owl. A few minutes later, the police noticed on the horse's face, the big toe appeared in panic. So they asked the Tupac code about, how did the code die? See the attitude of the investigators. Horrified, Tuppies finally confessed the truth. The police said that on the night of the crime, they lose money playing cards with friends. When he got home, he was in a bad mood. At that time, the father-in-law, he was also drunk, just returned. So he argued with the code. And then the two of you got into a fight. The result is taking advantage of drunkenness. The horse went into the kitchen to get an axe, and by the time the code is defenseless, you killed the code immediately. This situation really caught the police by surprise. Then, the police have summoned Kai Fu Code for questioning, but he denied his daughter's testimony. He told the police that on the night of the crime, he did not drink and he and his wife went to bed early. Only when your daughter screamed, you know what happened to the code. To face your father's contrary testimony, code revelation, the investigators were forced to gather them for questioning. After a struggle, conspiracy to blame your father of Matajan has been completely exposed. According to the testimony of Tatron, you used an axe to kill the code when he's fast asleep. She also added that the reason you're doing this is because of you and your parents had to endure indifference and mistreatment of the nail code for a long time. To end this torture, you had to take extreme action, even though the whole code told us the whole process. Because this is a criminal case, the local police still have to collect the relevant evidence to ensure the integrity of the chain of evidence and mutual authenticity. So the exhumation of the body has been included in the criminal team's work plan. All the investigators think that this case will soon be solved because of the code. The victim, however, results of the exhumation of the body criminal fall into an unsolved mystery. The police found out that the suspect doesn't tell the real truth. In January 20th, 2014, that's the 60th day after the horse was buried, investigators of the police department gathered at the village's squadron over to exhume the body. Now, some of the family's residents in the village still protesting the exhumation of the body to ensure transparency and the fairness of the whole process. The police have invited to witness monitor the whole process. Through the forensic doctor's preliminary diagnosis, no trace found, visible damage to the victim's entire body, nail coat except for the swollen part of the head with severe trauma. So the coroner speculated that the code may have been struck with a blunt object, leading to brain damage and death. Results of this autopsy, basically in accordance with the testimony of the about using axes to kill nails. However, to make sure everything is accurate, the coroner's done a thorough comparison, deadly wound, of the nail code, although the evidence points primarily to the Tupac code. But investigators have discovered a new suspect. According to the forensic doctor's conjecture, severe damage to the head of the victim of the nail code. It takes a lot of force to cause, while the suspect, Code Boobs, is just a small rural woman. He was not strong enough to cause such a serious injury. Is the code killer someone else? The police began to reconsider everyone who lives in the house the night of the crime. According to the previous testimony of the code, the night of the crime, Code and Code to Pearl, sleeping in a master bedroom on the first floor, and their 2 children slept in a smaller room. Nearby parents of Code Boobs' feet, Code of Revelation, and Cinnamon Fairy. I slept all night in a room on the 2nd floor. Among these people, the only man left is the horse. Is the possibility of a crime? However, after many interviews, Kai-Fu Code still insists that you know nothing about the death of your son-in-law because there is no relevant evidence. The investigators redirect the investigation to their family code. The results showed that after the Code to Pearl killed Code Din, the Code family held a secret family meeting. According to the police investigation, the main purpose of this meeting is to cover up the crimes of Mata Jun. In the middle of the night of the crime, Code Kai and his wife have called some cousins of the horse to foot and make a unified testimony. They claim that the Code died of a stroke. To avoid suspicion from the villagers, members of their family Code decided to hold a funeral for the nail Very respectful. The act of hiding the truth of their family Code, although it's meant to protect family members. But before the law, it's very weak and suspicious. Through their secret family meeting Code, the local police confirmed that Code to be really engaged in killing cheek nails. But what method did you use to cause such a serious head injury? In the whole case, the Code shows many contradictions. Are you hiding something you can't reveal? These questions push the investigators back to the crime scene. In the bedroom of the tiger, even though no evidence of a crime was found, but the police still found some traces. After the death of the Code Boobs don't just throw away all the stuff in bed, but also replace both the mattress and the bed frame under the new pillow of the horse. The police found a photo. In the photo, the man looks pretty handsome, and is obviously not a Code. According to some residents, Code to Tran, considered a prominent woman in the village, water fishing and the whole district, so after the Code died, some single men in the surrounding villages contacted the Taber Code. She wants to build a new family with you. So the police speculated, this handsome man, maybe it's the new boyfriend of TBN. The investigators gave the photo to the parents of the horse to identify, but the abbot and his wife said they don't recognize the person in the picture. So the police began to analyze. In time, less than 2 months after the death of the Code, his wife was a cowboy who hid a picture of him. Another man under the pillow. This is clearly a suspicious act. By bonus rate, this mysterious man and his horse, they may have a very close relationship. So the man that Mata longs for is AI. Due to a serious case, the local police immediately released the photo and conducted an investigation around the village of the Aqua Widow. In less than half a day, People recognize the person in the photo. The man's name is Kuomo, 37 years old, from Bitch Village Multi-District Copper Workshop. Bitch Da Village is just a mountain away from the village, as reflected by the enthusiastic residents. Although the mole has a very handsome appearance, but almost 40 years old, still single for a living. In recent years, he works at an iron factory in Ingaki City. He rarely comes home, but at the time of the crime, she quit her job to take care of her sick mother. Due to this unusual time, the investigators believe the suspect is likely the main suspect. It should be on 21-1. Dong-rik District Police went to the iron factory in Ingaki and find the mole. In front of police questioning, he quickly admitted to his crime. After hearing the news of his arrest, the psychology of the horse also completely collapsed. In the interrogation room, a series of mysteries waiting to be solved. How did Taejun and Ku Wisdom meet? On the night of the crime, what happened to them and the code? At SAO code, Taejun used extreme way to kill my husband. Go back in time over a year ago, in 2013 at the choir district. Because of limited economic conditions, many adult women choose to work away. This has led to many older men. I can't find a suitable marriage partner. Being poor is also one of them. While he's looking for his Kier halves, an accidental opportunity that made Kuomo meet Takoa. From the first meeting, code boobs and tough, we felt affection for each other. Not long after, Matufa was confided to Kumo about conflict with her husband. Even though Kumo knows the code, Tichu has a husband, but love comes suddenly, makes him feel like he wants to protect the owl. According to the testimony of Tichunko, initially she and Kumo to communicate by phone surreptitiously. During the time of talking to the mole, I can feel the real love. After a series of indescribable intimacy, the two hot hearts quickly came together. From there, they started dating regularly. When the cod goes to sell the piglets, the mother told her family that, "You need to go shopping." Actually, she had secretly arranged to meet Kuomo in a hidden place so they can be together. Two pearl cute code, along with the handsome young. They don't want to separate, to be able to live openly with the mole. Taejun has bravely asked for a divorce code. But the code, even though there's someone else, I don't understand why it is. More than half a year before the incident, even though the owl and the nail still live together, but their relationship was almost broken up. The code does not hide working with many other women, while the owl's code silently grows. It's a relationship. It's inseparable from the mole. To resolve the divorce issue, code boobs and cocks often quarrel. Even though the horse wants a divorce, but you still have worries in your heart because after the divorce, you and your children may have to live apart. As the conflict grows, code boobs and tough finally decide adopting an extreme method to solve the problem. In November 19, 2013, Kumo has come to the city of Winter secretly meet the Tupu code at a small local hotel. They've made plans for a solution. They think they'll solve the problem. They're going to kill you, and then you're free to start a new life together. The next evening, about 8 o'clock, two trans code called Choku Mole and asked him to come to her house by motorbike. After arriving at Mata Tran's house, the mole gets her led to hide in the bush next door, according to Wisdom. He waited until more than 11 o'clock at night. After the horse has fallen asleep, Mati legs alone holding an axe into the bedroom, while quietly standing outside the door to motivate you. But before her husband, he has lived with me for more than 15 years. Code boobs can't do it. As time goes by, the mole becomes more and more nervous. About 5 minutes later, the horse has got a foot out of the room and gives the axe. Ask you to take action. The wise now feel afraid, but remember the good days of over half a year, and worry that if the code wakes up, it'll cause trouble. He decided to act. After the crime, wise to leave the village by motorbike. Appointment with the code teach you after the funeral of the nail code is over, they will start planning their marriage. But it didn't go as they planned. The strange death of the nail code made the villagers suspicious. After being arrested, he regretted his actions. He thought that your feet will open the door to a good life. But a wrong decision made me a handsome guy. I never knew the taste of love, on a path of no return. And with the code, they can completely solve their marriage problem by divorce through agreement. However, you've chosen to be extreme and illegal, even though the horse to cherish the mole. But after killing her husband, you have no chance to accept the love of the mole again.
What do you think about this issue? Please leave a comment below for everyone to know and discuss. Goodbye and see you again.